Hello MBA aspirants. I am Parikshit Saikia. I have over 9 years of teaching experience and I teach live on the Unacademy platform. In today's session, I'm going to talk about the 5 golden tips that every CAT, for that matter, every MBA aspirant should have on your resume. Remember, you getting into a B school is not only dependent on your performance in the CAT, but is also dependent to an extent on your profile. And it's important that you work on your profile, right? And improve the same. Remember, I'm not going to tell you a lot of hi-fi things because I know that I can tell you there are too many things in the world which you can do and have an impressive resume, but due to lack of time, I know that you are preparing for the CAT, you might not be able to have those super impressive things on your resume. But there are things, okay, doesn't take too much of time, and you still can go ahead and have them on your resume. And I'm going to give you the 5 golden tips to have these things, right, which doesn't take much time but are super impressive on your resume. So let's get started. Now just wait, give me a moment. I'm going to ensure that I'm streaming live. Okay, one moment. Let me ensure that I'm streaming live and then we get started. Okay, I think I am streaming live. Let's start. Let's start. Okay, profile building. That's what we are going to talk about. How do you build your profile? Most of you must be thinking, what will you write on your resume, right? There are not too many stuffs that you can write because maybe you haven't been very serious in your academics, right? Profile building, right? In the past few years. Okay. Now let's talk about the first thing. The first thing that all of you can do, okay, and have it on your resume is a few certifications. Is a few certifications. Now, what kind of certifications are we looking at? What kind of certifications are we looking at? Okay. Now, these certifications should align to what is being taught in MBA B school. As an example, you can do a beginners and an advanced level certification on Microsoft Excel. Remember, Excel is very important to a manager, to a budding manager. Lot of analysis, right? Lot of decisions that happen today happens, okay? That analysis is done on Excel. So maybe you can learn a few coding in Excel. You can learn a few formulas in Excel. You can learn how to create graphs in Excel. You can learn how to analyze a lot of data. So there are lot thousands and lakhs of rows. How to analyze them? Things like, let's say, VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP. Okay. Then Excel coding. Okay, I won't say Excel. You don't need to be a computer science engineer to know Excel coding. But you know what? VBA, a few basic Excel lookups, right? A few basic Excel formulas you should definitely know. Now, where do you get to learn them is the next thing. Where should you learn them? Okay, I'll give you the source. Don't worry about it. But first, let's talk about the different items. A is MS Excel. B could be some analytics course. Analytics course. Okay. An analytics course could be analytics course or analytics tool. Okay. An analytics course could be something very simple, right? Something very simple, right? Python, R. Okay. These doesn't need a lot of time. Maybe you can spend 4 weeks. You don't have to be a master in it. But if you can spend 4 weeks, get yourself certified, right? Out of the thousands of courses available online, you can put it on your resume. So analytics course is something that an interview panel will definitely give weightage, okay, if you have it on your resume. And third is you can talk about some of the reporting tools. You can learn a few reporting tools. Remember, as a manager, these are 3 must-have skills. Reporting tool could be something like Power BI. Okay, you can learn one of them, Power BI, or it could be something like Tableau. Tableau. Okay, you can write the names of these. And where do you learn all of this? I think the best place to learn all of this, which is in the most I would say in a most organized manner. Remember, YouTube, you'll get a lot of videos here and there, but then you will not be certified. I would say the best place to learn, again, my personal recommendation would be either Udemy or LinkedIn Learning or LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning. Okay. They have some amazing courses. And the best part is they give you a certification at the end. They give you a certification. And I, I recommend these courses because they provide certification. And if you have a certification, you can mention it on your resume. Without a certification, you just can't write anything on your resume, right? But if you can say that certified by Udemy on MS Excel advanced course, something like that looks great on your resume. Things now you don't have to do all of these. Do you want to do Excel? Do you want to do Python? Do you want to do Tableau or Power BI? No, not all of them. I have given you a lot of options. It's you to pick and choose which one you want to pursue, right? So don't try to do all of them. Pick up one, max to max, two of these certifications and try to pursue them. Okay, that's point number one for you. That's point number one for you. Point number two, which you definitely need to have on your resume is okay, I would say some involvement with an NGO because it helps you to talk during an interview, about what you have done. Get yourself associated with an NGO and get a certificate which says that person ABC has been associated with this NGO since so and so date, right? If you have that, you can talk about it. There are a lot of NGOs which provide, let's say, upliftment of poor children. It could be anything, right? Especially during COVID times, a lot of people have lost their jobs. There are a lot of people who you can go out and help, right? Now I hear a point of caution. I don't know how many of you have watched that movie Drishyam. If you have watched that movie Drishyam, what was important in that movie is if you have experienced something, you can talk about it. But if you have not experienced it and you try to cook up a story, it might not stand. Why? Because the panel who is going to interview you has a lot of experience. So do not talk about an NGO if you are not actually associated with it, because if they find that you are lying, they will simply reject you. So if you don't do anything, let's say you don't find an NGO, there no one is providing you a certificate, you don't get anything, then maybe as an example, something very small, right? Maybe for next 4 or 5 weekends, next 4 or 5 weekends, right? Next 4 or 5 weekends, go and distribute, go to a orphanage, right? Go to an orphanage and spend some time helping people and spend some time. What will happen is, if you do this, okay, if you have actually lived through it, any interview question that the panel asks you, because you have gone through this experience, you'll be able to answer. But if you try to cook up a story without actually experiencing it, trust me, life could be difficult during an interview. So this is the second thing that you can do. And if you get a certification, you can mention it in your resume. Point number three, which you definitely need to have, and all of you need to have, is a hobby. Okay, hobby. Now let me give you an example. Of a hobby. You know what hobby? As an example, playing cricket, okay, is a hobby. Playing cricket could be a hobby. If you say that I play cricket, that's a hobby. But if you say that watching cricket, what is your hobby? I love watching cricket. That's my hobby. That's not a hobby. That's an interest. Hobby is something that you actually do. You love to eat, that's not a hobby. You love cooking, that's a hobby. So cultivate a hobby. If you don't have a hobby, maybe you start picking up some books, right? And start reading a few books so that you can tell during an interview that you love reading books. They will start asking who is your favorite author, what is your favorite genre, what do you learn from, let's say, the last book that you read, right? A lot of questions they will start asking. And if you're smart enough, you can actually talk about a lot of things regarding your hobby during an interview. As an example, if someone loves to play football, you can talk about how football tells you strategy. Remember, position of the players? Position of the players in a football field is nothing but strategy. And you can talk about, because you have played football, you know what? You have learned strategy management to an extent. You have leadership skills in you. You can talk about team building activities. All of it, you can connect it to a lot of skills that an MBA aspirant must have, and you can tell them how you have developed this habits, okay, or the skills through your hobby. So again, a lot of things you can talk about if you have a hobby. So remember, hobby is something you actually do. As I said, playing cricket, hobby. Watching cricket, not your hobby. So cultivate a hobby, and if you don't have a hobby, the easiest hobby to develop, okay, at least for the next 5 6 months or over a year, is reading novels. If you don't have any hobby, cultivate this hobby of reading novels. Go and buy some books And once you start reading a few books, you can always talk to them about it during an interview that you spend a lot of time reading novels. That's a hobby you can cultivate still if you don't have a hobby. Okay, that's point number 3 for you. Point number 4 is certification. Okay, I would say marketing slash finance courses. Marketing slash finance, okay, topics or courses. Marketing slash finance courses. Let's take an example. I will not ask you to go and do a CFA course in finance. Why? The CFA is very difficult. You will not have the time to go and do a finance course. Let's say there are some certain easy finance courses, okay? Certain easy finance courses. As an example, if you type in Google, okay, if you type in Google, let's say NCFM, NCFM. These are very basic level finance material which are provided by the Bombay Stock Exchange, Stock Exchange and the NSE, the National Stock Exchange. Basic finance stuff. And once you read them, you can go and write a certification, right? You can give a certification, give an exam, and then they will say you are certified. So you can do this. This won't take too much of time. A lot of NCFM modules are there. You can just type in Google NCFM certifications. You will get what I'm talking about. So very minimal time, and I would say looks good on your resume if you do not have too many things to be written on the resume. The second, if you don't have anything, let's say you don't want to do a certification, okay, you can probably spend some time doing an analysis, okay, analysis of a specific sector, analysis of a specific sector, right? What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? You can say, as an example, let's say you are very interested in the automobile industry. You love cars. Can you read a bit about cars? Can you maybe write maybe a 5-6 pager on the automobile industry, and then talk during the interview that you have done an analysis of the automobile sector because you love cars? You can talk about during that analysis, you can talk about how hybrid vehicles, right, how the new vehicles, the electric vehicles are becoming popular, what the government is doing. Or you can talk about probably the agricultural sector in the country. You can talk about the IT sector in the country, right? Take up one specific sector, do a sort of research on it, and then put it on the resume, because then the question paper setter is just going to ask you what kind of analysis you have done. What is the study you have done? What are your findings, right? And trust me, you can talk a lot on this because you're prepared on this well in advance, right? So another great point to keep in mind, you can do a few marketing and finance courses. If you're someone who is interested in marketing, these are finance courses. If you're someone who is interested in marketing, so for marketing people, you can actually execute a marketing strategy, right? You can maybe do some research on, let's say, some secondary research, some primary research, let's say how advertisements affect human behavior, how advertisements affect consumer purchasing power, right? You can do some sort of research and then put it, right? So these are things you can do. That's point number 4 for us. Point number 5 that I would suggest is, point number 5 that you can actually go and do is, or maybe indulge is, core curricular activities. Core curricular activities. What are core curricular activities? Especially if you are, let's say, a student, okay? Let's say, as an example, you are a student. You are a student, okay? If you are a student, you can probably participate in college fest. If you're a student, you can participate in college fest. College fest, you can maybe the organizer of the fest, maybe you are the president of the college debating society, right? Or maybe if you're an engineer, you are the district head of the IEEE chapter of your college, right? So all these things you can do, and again put it in your resume, and then talk about it, how this brought about an interest in management. You can say that when you organized a college fest, you managed budget, you managed people, you did marketing, right? And all this actually brought in a lot of, it inculcated a sense of interest in you, and that is why you decided to do an MBA. A lot of stories can be built upon it. And if you're someone who is a working professional, right? Working professional, if you are a working professional, there are a lot of clubs. There might be a lot of clubs in your companies, right? In your companies, there might be a lot of clubs. It could be a debating club. It could be let's say a music club in your office. Be a part of it. Maybe get involved in, let's say, at least one or two events, because as I said, you cannot lie. If you lie, eh, they can easily catch you. Be a part of it. Let's say at least participate in one or two events, and if you do that, at least you'll be able to talk about it during an interview. So I gave you 5 very doable things. These are things which anyone can do and doesn't take too much of time. And the best part is you'll be able to do it along with your CAT preparation. Yes, that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if yes, do hit the like button. And trust me, follow these 5 steps. You will be one step, at least one step ahead, right, of your competitors when you go for an interview. And more than that, you'll be super confident about the interview. If you have nothing, you'll be worried that they can ask you just anything. But if you have so many things on your resume, trust me, they're going to ask you only from things which you have written. And that's the best part. That gives you a undue advantage over a lot of your competitors. Thank you, folks. Hope you enjoyed the class, and I'm going to see you in my next class. Till then, goodbye and stay safe. Bye for now.